Hi guys, Drew here. Thanks for checking out my channel. This is actually my second time filming this video. I didn't have my mic on, and you really can't hear well if I don't use the mic. So let's try this again. Shamanic extraction and soul retrieval. And these are two of the more well-known shamanic practices outside of shamanic journey. They are holistic methods. It's a whole system. You work on mind, body, spirit, emotions, mental, physical, spiritual. This is a healing partnership between the practitioner and the client. They both need to be open and have faith in the process. In order for the client to do so, we really should do our homework. The practitioner needs to be reliable. They need to know what they're doing, and they need to be in it for the long haul, because this isn't a quick fix. It can actually be a very lengthy process. It is imperative that the client is willing and able to face unpleasant memories or aspects of self and work through that. During this process, we need to be vulnerable and we need to take responsibility. If you do decide to seek this sort of treatment and the practitioner just jumps into it right away, that should send off some warning bells for you. Really, in order to do this properly, the practitioner should sit down with you. They should sort of ask you some preliminary questions. There should be an interface, kind of like a counseling. You need to build a rapport so the two of you can work together and build mutual trust. So let's talk about soul retrieval. This is the idea that some kind of trauma has happened in your life and the soul has fractured and splintered apart. Part of it's missing, or parts of it are missing. Modern psychology views this concept as submerged subconscious impulses, kind of like the shadow. And the shamanic interpretation is that these soul pieces that have fragmented are lost in the other world and need to be retrieved and returned. Psychology only acknowledges this kind of splintering when there is a major trauma in the life, whereas the shamanic interpretation allows for varying degrees of trauma, anything from injury to insult, fear, embarrassment, failure. Varying degrees. They allow for the relativity of trauma. It is relative. My trauma is my trauma, and what is traumatic to me may not be traumatic to others, and vice versa. It is extremely important that the practitioner understands the other worlds. They need to know how to navigate them, how to find the soul pieces and retrieve them and bring them back safely. Not only can the return of soul fragments return lost memories to us, but it can also return lost power and lost energy. But we need to keep in mind that not all memories are pleasant. And actually, what is brought back up can be very traumatic. And it can make the situation seem worse than it did before you came in the first place for the treatment. This is when it is important to stick through and to have a practitioner that knows what they're doing to work with you through that so you can come out the other side. Not only can this practice bring about some very unpleasant things, but ultimately it can bring about profound, life-changing healing and empowerment. However, there may be some preliminary steps that need to be taken with the practitioner, or that you need to take on your own as advised by the practitioner before you begin this practice. All right, extraction. This is the idea that a foreign energy has become embedded in our energy field and it needs to be removed. Now, that's not to say that the energy itself is bad. It's just that it's foreign to us and it's unhealthy for us, so it needs to be removed. These are often called intrusions, and they cause illness and other unfortunate side effects, mental, physical, emotional, as a result of them being in the energy field. So there is some basic imagery that's often associated with these intrusions. the shamanic practitioner may see them with their naked eye. They may see them in a trance state, or they may see them through journey. And this imagery is usually like insects, arachnids of all kinds, snakes, worms, fanged animals of all sorts, knives, broken glass, other sharp objects, or oftentimes it's just a dark gray or black mass. Intrusions are most often removed during shamanic journey, and the practitioner will use their hands or their mouth, although they typically take special precautions with the mouth application because they don't want to swallow your intrusion, basically. They don't want that energetic getting into their system. It is imperative that the entire intrusion is removed. That may take more than one session, but it needs to be completely removed or it'll just grow back. It is also imperative that the intrusion is disposed of properly. Now, the practitioner may receive guidance in the moment of how to do so. Often fire and water are excellent ways of transmuting these intrusions. But there are also occasions when the practitioner needs to find the intrusion's home. This would be elemental energies, spirits of the land, nature spirits of any kind. It would be best to put them back where they belong. Neither of these methods of healing are to be undertaken lightly. This is something that needs to be seriously thought about, researched, and you need to be as certain as you can be that you're working with someone who knows what they're doing and can take care of you properly. Also, always use guides and or totems in these processes. Okay, so I don't have a whole lot of personal experience with soul retrieval. It's not something I've delved into super deeply, although I absolutely want to. I feel like I know that there are pieces of my soul in the other world that need to be returned to me. I have done some preliminary stuff and journey and meditation and just contemplation and with my guides. And for me, I get this distinct feeling that when the soul fractures and the pieces leave, that they're stuck where they were when the trauma occurred. So if you were a child, that piece of it's still that in that child's state and needs to be healed. It's stuck there. It's really sad. And it's not only sad for me as the person sitting here today who's missing this piece of the soul or whatnot, but when I think back, that little girl is stuck there. I don't like that. That's upsetting. So I do want to fix that. I do, however, have some very interesting experience with soul extraction. As I've mentioned many times, I am shaman, and I know that I was born that way, but I was not active on my path until I was in my early 30s, and I got the illness and went through the whole initiation and blah, blah. Coming out the other side, I started to do shamanic journey, and not very long into that, probably the third or fourth shamanic journey, and I had met my healing guide at this point, and he was with me in this journey, and suddenly he took his hand and jammed it into my gut where my sacral chakra would be. And he pulled out this mass that looked like tar. And I was completely bewildered. I did not know what was happening. There was this ritualistic quality to the whole thing, which is not normal for me in journey. And at the time, I had no concept of what was happening. I didn't understand, and I was just kind of dazed sitting there as all of this was happening around me. And it wasn't for a very long time later, months and months and months later. I've read several books about shamanism because I don't personally know many shamans. And even the ones that I have met, we're all walking blindly. None of us have a mentor. You know, none of the ones I know, it wasn't passed from a grandparent or something like that. They came into their paths on their own, as I did. And so I've gotten much of my information from books, the internet, what have you. I read several books. I had finally gotten to one, and it was the first one that had a full chapter about shamanic extraction. I had never heard of this, did not understand. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm reading the chapter, and all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off. Bing! This is what happened. My healing guide did a shamanic extraction on me. So for me, it was very validating and exciting. I love when that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, I understand shamanic extraction. Soul retrieval, not so much, still working on that one. Even without experiencing the soul retrieval myself as of yet, only my little, dipping my toe in, getting an understanding of the situation, I highly recommend them if you're able to do them. I do suggest being smart and safe about it. But any practice that we can take part in that brings us back to our whole self before this world started to trample on us is beautiful and wonderful. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, I think definitely check it out. And thanks for listening to me jabber about something that I can get excited about. Until next time, much love and gratitude.